Our corporate overlords have stolen our voice, but even with no mouth we must scream, so we welcome you to Tome of Legends, where we, rude Kaiser, enthrall our royal court with our extensive wisdom on a legendary topic. Every week we bring a new tale, and we must warn you all to hold on to your shapes with this episode, because we are exploring the history and playstyles of Volrath the Shapestealer. And if you like the show, subscribe, leave a comment, make sure you check the Patreon. We gotta say stuff like this now because people don't make it to the end of videos. Our first EDH deck was Tristani, Selesnia's Voice, but our very first Magic deck was a 60-card blue-black zombie deck, featuring Dark Ascension's Diagraph Captain and zombie tokens. That love for zombie tokens didn't translate well in EDH. We were first shown Grimgrin, the powerful Innistrad zombie, but we are very sentimental players, and themes and vibes matter a lot more than they probably should to us. A commander that not only didn't make zombies, but just ate them to move his lumbering behind around really didn't match the endless ranks of the dead we were going for. We later built Thraxamundar as a zombie deck, but with its high mana cost, it became more cost efficient to supplement any pumps and effects that didn't focus on Thrax itself. Again, the proper zombie swarm lord had eluded us. This is when we came to Sidisi, Brood Tyrant. The effect was very cool, milling when it entered and attacked like an old school titan. Plus it generates zombies under very specific circumstances. From here we began tweaking and working on it. Looking for cards that work with both counters and tokens to better utilize doubling season led us to Zach Sara the Exemplary. They might be a little too centered on a particular type of spell and creature, but they also have so much combo potential that we set out again to look for a legend in these colors. And this is how we landed on Volrath the Shapestealer. The Commander 2019 version of the card was done by Hyunhwa Cho. It depicts the tall, bone-white Volrath in his lab, performing surgery on, based on the squirming tentacles, a still living subject. He appears to be in the process of replacing an organ of the patient with a Power Stone, the powerful Thran artifact. This act, however, seems to bring him no sense of joy. At this point in the character's life, it is simply work, and the somber expression paints that beautifully. Volrath was born Vuel, son of Sidar Kondo of Jamura, and raised alongside an adopted brother, Gerard Capuchin. Vuel was to perform a ritual trial of his land, but poisoned body paint doomed him from the start. Though his life was saved by Gerard, he was exiled from his lands as a failure and resented his brother for saving his life. He wandered the lands in angst when Stark Ilvek, a criminal who was responsible for the poisoned body paint, began to egg him on to take revenge. Vuel rallied unaligned barbarians in raids of his former home, causing the deaths of many of his people, including his father. Pleased with the boy's might, Stark takes him to the Phyrexian-controlled artificial plane of Wrath through a planar portal. Here he was completed, renamed Volrath, and was crowned the Evankar of Wrath. From this throne, his hatred of Gerard grew all-consuming, as he abducts Sisay of the Weatherlight. When Gerard braved Wrath to enter Volrath's stronghold, he was confronted with his allies and Volrath himself. Volrath was then defeated, but that was just a shapeshifter, as the real Volrath had stowed away, disguising himself as Gerard's ally. This victory, however, was short-lived as they traveled to Marcadia, where Gerard confronted and forced the Evankar to retreat back to Wrath. There he found no rest, for the Phyrexians believed the throne abdicated, and Grevin, Urtai, and Krovax were all fighting over it. Volrath joins in the fight, challenging Krovax to a battle to the death. Volrath had experience, but the combination of Krovax eating the spectators for power and Urtai's intervention was too much to overcome. With this defeat, Volrath was uncompleted from the inside out, dying as Vuel, forced to watch as the second stage in the Phyrexian invasion of Dominaria began. The card has a triggered ability that puts a -1/-1 counter on up to one target creature at the start of your combat step. You can also pay 1 of any color to turn Volrath into a copy of any creature in play with any kind of counter on it until the start of your next turn, but it stays a 7/5. In EDH, 7 is a magic number, so the 3-turn clock not being disrupted by the transformation ability is very helpful. For a legend, it does very little on its own, other than slowly making things smaller, but its inherent power comes from what else is being played around it. You can focus on your opponent's creatures, focus on your creatures, or use both, treating the entire field as your own personal menagerie. There is a lot of versatility in the shape-shifting ability. For example, being able to transform into different creatures during different steps of combat, going from one with an attack trigger when you declare it as an attacker, into an unblockable creature before blockers are declared, and then to a double striker once it is declared it's unblocked. An important detail to note is that it stays whatever you turn it into until the start of your next turn, or until you turn it into something else. While our main goal is zombie tokens, that is a very small aspect of the deck. At the deck's core, we built a Zaxara the Exemplary combo deck. But due to it more truly being a Volrath deck, there is a strong focus on creatures with good abilities that can survive having 1 negative counter placed upon them. These 2 ideas meet in the middle with Necrotic Ooze, who serves as the heart of the deck, by keeping the deck active even when the combo pieces have been sent to the yard. The zombie tokens in this deck exist as extensions of value. Cemetery Reaper makes a token, sure, but it is at the cost of a creature in someone else's yard being exiled. Grave Titan can make mini zombies, but that's just icing on the cake for how good of a creature it is. Crypt Breaker, Scarab God, and Graveborn Muse then capitalize on the amount of zombies you've created throughout the game. And then there's Yawgmoth, Grand Physician, who serves as a supercharged Volrath, siphoning zombie tokens for removal and massive counter manipulations. The deck aims to win through straight up damage, or by generating infinite mana and dumping it into a massive torment of Hailfire. We highly recommend this commander if you like playing with other people's cards, because no one will mind you copying them as much as they might you taking them and not giving them back. Both Hepatra and Skeleton Ship are amazing bases for this deck, given that both focus on the many interactions involving negative counters being placed on creatures. Unblockable might be overkill in a deck that only needs to connect 3 times. It is pretty hard to build this deck in a way that does not invalidate blockers, but combat is where we feel a card like this really shines. And that was Volrath the Shapestealer, the Phyrexian Tyrant from Jamura. Thank you for getting this far. We've been Rude Kaiser, the beetle on your shoulder, hoping to see you all next time where we look into what makes a real human being.